thanks for coming. Glad we could do this. We just kind of did a segment right before this for the Hall of Fame. So now I'll get you on my podcast version of it here. So I kind of told you before you came, got to give a quote. It's kind of like the theme of the show here. So what'd you come with?
What did I come with? It was tough because I love words, right? I love words. I say too many of them. But my quote is probably one that my high school football coach had painted on the walls of our locker room. And the quote is, the saying is, the easy choice in life is usually the wrong decision. And the hard choice in life is often the right decision. So if you break it down and you think, okay, what's the easy choice to make? Not going to the weight room at 5 a.m. It's probably the wrong decision. And what's the hard choice to make? Going out there and doing extra running after practice, probably the right. And it's just like, it's applied to every single part of my life, right? Sports, work, personal, anything. If you're faced with two choices and you go, what's the easier one? Not every single time, but 9.5 times out of 10, the easier choice is like, I'm probably making the wrong decision here. So yeah, if I ever got a tattoo, that might be something I would get considered, or I would consider getting tattooed on me.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're recording on the day of the supposed scheduled High Limit show. So for listeners, viewers, have you this year had a moment like that on the road with High Limit where you've kind of been like, this ain't the easiest choice, but it is the right one that I probably should do? Or?
Oh yeah. Again, and you could in so many different facets, right? Like, High Limit's a very small staff, right? Like I came from the world of Outlaws who had a person for every single job. Sometimes they'd have 5 people for a job. High Limit's different. We're a pretty small staff, meaning that my job, for example, at the Outlaws, I was there for 2 years as a video guy. I would show up to the track kind of whenever it's not like I could show up at 6, but I could show up whenever I really kind of needed to, whenever my rental car full of other employees was getting there. But I didn't have to do anything till cars were on track. I didn't have to do anything video-wise until there was something to video. Meaning I would start when I had to start and I would finish when I was done. These days with High Limit, it's like Chase Rodman, our lead announcer, Anthony Creaney, our scorer, Brian Walker, our social media PR guy, and myself all travel together in one car. So we get to the track at 11 a.m. or noon at latest because we have to help hang banners. We have to help erect the big screen in the infield. We have to help set up the A-frames. We have to help make sure. Before East Bay, our first race last year, we were picking up trash out of the grandstands because Lucas Oil late models had been there for like 10 days or something. So you get there and you have to do all the stuff, and maybe you just driven the night before and you get to the hotel at 3 or 4 in the morning and you sleep till 9:30 or 10, and then you got to get up and you got to get to the track and you're zip tying banners up. A ton of them. You're helping move stuff. You're helping to unload stuff out of the hauler. And then you finally get done with the job that you're not even hired to do. And then you're like, I got a few hours till racing starts. Well, it'd be really easy to sit in our new command center and eat something, watch whatever's on TV, or did Chase and I get up and go and talk to drivers, shake hands, learn stories, have something to talk about during the night. And you have to make those hard choices all the time and go, I could skate by and be like, I'll just look at the results from the All-Star race here at Fremont and talk about that. Or do you get out in the sun, in the wet, in the whatever, and go, I got to talk to somebody from every single car in this pit area. And that's just one facet, right? Like you get faced with that hard choice, easy choice thing on the road all the time. But man, that's just life. Rich gets faced with hard decisions. You get faced with hard decisions. And it's like, do I sleep in or do I get up? The easy choice would be sleep in. So yeah, you get hit with that stuff out on the road every single day, it feels like.
Yeah, I bet. You mentioned kind of on the life on the road, and I know when we discussed kind of like schedule and all this, you guys got to town last night.
Yes.
And we had talked about maybe doing this last night, where you guys stopped in Indy to take in the first day of Indy 500 practice. When you guys are on the road with High Limit, now that you guys are kind of in this very busy stretch of the season, probably don't have much time to kind of stop in places, but with the midweek money deal, the way that it's kind of set up, when you guys get the chance to do things like that, how are you doing it every time you can, or?
Yeah, it's tough because everybody gets worn down. I don't know if Rich and I were talking about it in that last segment. I think so, because we were talking about getting to come in here and check it out. And I'm like, listen, we sit in hotel rooms a lot. I don't need to sit in any more hotel rooms. I get very you get like, what are we going to do? And then you start getting punchy. And like, when you travel on a sprint car team, it's the crew chief and 2 other guys. It's the driver and his 3 crew guys, right? Well, it's the same on the series side. Chase, Anthony, Brian, and I all travel together. If we don't do something to burn our energy, we become jerks fast. And so you can't just, and then you get out of the car and you go room with each other. I share a room with Brian, Anthony and Chase share a room together. You don't get a break from each other. I mean, you travel in the car, you go to the room with them, you wake up next to them, you go to eat with them, then you go to the track, you work together, you tear down, you get back in the car. So you need to do something to just get away from either the room and the car or each other. Again, to fall back to my outlaw days, when Brian and I worked there, we went on this awesome run of baseball games. He's a baseball fan. I'm a mega baseball fan. We had a stretch in 2022 with the Outlaws when he was doing their social media and I was doing videos for them, where him and I and another guy, our signage guy, we hit in a 7-day run around this area. In a 7-day run, we hit 5 Major League Baseball games, all at 5 different stadiums, and saw 10 different teams play in 7 days. Cleveland was one of those. We went to an Orioles game. We went to a Washington Nationals game, Pittsburgh Pirates, Philadelphia Phillies. It was awesome. And yeah, during this specific stretch, like May, it's really tough to link things up. I know after we're done at Utica Rome on Saturday, my camera guy from Flow, Kyle, told me that there's a Yankees Mets game in New York City that like we're trying to figure out if we can get to. Back in the opening swing out on the West Coast when we were in Vado. Vado had gotten canceled due to weather, and we were waiting to find out what we would do at Dodge City and Amarillo. And our 2 signage guys and myself ran east, and we hit Guadalupe Mountains National Park in West Texas. So yeah, we try to work in stuff like that because it's just like, you know, it's way too cool of a life to get to go out all around the country and not see more. You get to see amazing racetracks and places like this. That is cool. But, you know, you're also, we're an hour from this concert. We're 20 minutes from this stadium and this thing. So Saturday or Friday night in Fort Worth, we raced Thursday and Saturday in Dallas for Texas Motor Speedway. Friday night, my all-time favorite Texas country musician, Cody Jinks, was playing outside of AT&T Stadium in Dallas. Went and grabbed tickets to that and had the best night ever. So yeah, we try to cram stuff in, but when you're traveling with 3 other dudes, everybody's kind of got to agree to it because everybody's probably gonna have to spend money on it. And you can't just be like, hey, we're going to a country concert of a guy you 3 have never heard of. And, you know, because if they're not into it, they're not going to do it. So, yeah, it's a lot of like bending and, hey, I'll do this, but a few weeks we're going to do that. And so, yeah, we're very fortunate. We get to hit a lot of cool stuff when we're out on the road.
Mm-hmm. What's been like the favorite place or your favorite place, at least, that you guys have gotten to go to, not track wise, but maybe like a local area? But
like as a result of traveling?
Yeah.
The stockyards, the Fort Worth stockyards.
I was thinking that might have been what you were going to say.
If we're talking just this year, because like that's as far back as my memory goes, unless you want to watch me on camera, sit here and like think for 10 minutes. Yeah, this year I love Texas. I love Texas. People who don't know me really well, I try to joke with them and make them think I'm from Texas. The stockyards were really cool. Getting to go hit that Cody Jinks concert down in Arlington was really cool. Vegas is cool for like a night or 2. We spent 9 there. For me, that's about 7 nights too many. Vegas was cool. And then a lot of it also is just running and gunning so fast you don't spend a lot of time in areas. But this year at least, if you'll give me the grace of just asking about this year.
We'll keep it to this year.
Yeah, I can't think, but yeah, even dipping back, like when we go out to the West Coast, you get to hit some national parks out there. We've been to Yosemite. We've been to Kings Canyon. We've been to the Redwoods, and those are amazing places. So, I'd say the stockyards this year, getting to walk down the stockyards, and that's where we'll hold our banquet at the end of the fall out in Fort Worth. And we rent this really cool bar space on the street in the stockyards. We don't go off site. We stay on the stockyards main street.
What place is it going to be this year?
It's the same as last year's. It's Tannehill's. And it's like a bar and an event space. Yep. Have you been there?
I lived in Texas for 3 years.
No kidding.
So
where? What part?
San Angelo.
Okay.
So, but actually going back down there first weekend of June to basically visit. So we'll be in Dallas Fort Worth the 5th and 6th, and San Angelo 7th and 8th.
Is San Angelo outside of Austin?
No, it's like 3 hours to the west.
Okay.
It's the largest city in the United States without an interstate connection. It's in the middle of nowhere.
Well, what an honor.
It's something like that.
Proud of you guys.
It's been 3 years. So you say the stockyards was your favorite place to go. I get it.
Loved it. Really loved it. But yeah, this job takes you to a ton of really cool places. Getting to hit all those baseball games for me is like right up there at the top of the list. But I live in Indianapolis these days. So if I didn't do that, I would have told you that getting to run through Indiana and do Kokomo and then getting to go to the Speedway, that would have definitely been number one. But I live in Indianapolis. I can go to the Speedway whenever I want, except in the month of May because we race 100 times. But yeah, I really love getting down to Texas. I wish we raced there way more often. And that's just my style of life down there. Is
it cooler that your boss is running at Indy this year and you guys got to kind of do that and go there first day of practice?
You're going to get me in trouble because,
I don't say anything to get you in trouble.
No, I won't say anything. But yes, it's so cool that Kyle's running and I wish terribly I could be there. I mean, I'm wearing Indianapolis. I packed an Indianapolis Motor Speedway shirt for every day of this road trip that we're not in our high limit work clothes because I love the Indianapolis 500. Last year was the first year I've missed it for the same reason I'll miss it this year. The Weicker. I'd been to every Indy 500 since 2016 and I hadn't missed one even during COVID. I went on the day they were supposed to hold it, which nothing was happening because it was May and COVID was like 3 months old. And then I went to the race in August where they wouldn't let fans in. And I sat outside the front gate in a lawn chair and watched it on the big screen through a hole about that big. I love the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I love the 500. So for Kyle, someone who I have the utmost respect for, because to me, he's like the second coming of Tony Stewart, who's my all-time hero. He's the guy. And Tony did what Kyle's doing, right? He ran the double, he ran the Indy 500. And so, yeah, I'm so stoked that Kyle's doing it. I'll focus on the good and not the bad, being that I wish I could be there in person to cheer him on and watch him. But we have a race in Pennsylvania that weekend, and I'll be watching it on my phone from the infield probably.
You got to do what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do.
And on the other side of that, it's like I sat in the grandstands at the Indianapolis 500 for 2 years, 22 and 23, when I didn't have an announcing job, when I was just doing video work for the Outlaws. And I was just praying to God and begging for an opportunity to get back on the microphone. And now I have it. And so I'm not in the position to be like, I want a weekend off, at least in the first couple of years. I'm thankful to Brad and I'm thankful to Kyle and I'm thankful to Flo for giving me the opportunity. Yeah, one race out of the year falls on an event I really, really, really want to be at, but we all give up stuff. We all make sacrifices to do this job. So I'm no different, and I have to go through the same thing everybody else does. So I'm stoked for Kyle. I think he's going to have a great run this year, and can't wait to watch it.
Yeah. You mentioned getting back on the mic. I'm going to give my quote here. I got to look at my phone to do these. I got so many saved. But mine, for this one, most important step a man or even a woman could take goes both ways. It's not the first one. It's the next one. Yep. It's always the next one.
Yeah, that's a great line.
And I think for me, I saw that, I think 3 days ago, and I was like, that's a good one, because I think I have a bad habit of like taking one step, like getting into something. Mm-hmm. And then if I'm like, if it doesn't go my way or I don't enjoy it, I'm like, okay, I'm going to take my step back. I'm not going to take another one.
Well, and we live in a time of instant gratification where it's like, I took the first step. Why aren't I winning? Why aren't I rich yet? Why aren't I doing this? Well, it's like, it takes a lot more steps than that. So I agree. I think I didn't want to cut you off, but I agree that you're good. That's a good line, just because you got to keep moving. Yeah.
There's an Instagram page. I think it's Code of the West off the top of my head, but they're kind of Texas. I think he's from Texas, Western based. But he does a lot of that, talking about like today's world's instant gratification. And it's like, you're not grinding behind the scenes. If you're doing it for the applause, you're not doing it for the right reasons and all that. And I'm a big believer in that. Yep. If anyone's ever seen my personal social media pages, you'll see me, I don't want to say complain, but I'm a big advocate of like photographers and stuff, like not wanting the money. Just do it for the love of the game. Yeah. If you do it for the love, everything else is going to come with it, because it's the product itself is going to be better.
Well, it's such a stupid cliche, and I say it sarcastically all the time when someone will come by and see me zip tying, Chase and I, or Brian and I'll be zip tying banner 87 for the day, or whatever, not 87, but like banner 30 or whatever. And they'll joke me. They'll be like, man, you must love your job, man, as they're walking in with their like fourth beer at like 3 p.m. And I'll sarcastically go, well, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I'm saying it sarcastically, but you're 1,000% right. If you just show up and grind and do something because you love it, maybe, for example, like I'm not going to say this because he's sitting here watching us, but like what Rich has done with this place and the track. Well, if you're not only focused on the dollar sign at the end of the day, you're probably going to do a lot better work, right? Because if you assign the value of the work to an amount of dollars, well, you're only going to work till you get to that dollar amount. And then you'll go, cool, I'm done. But if you just do it for how cool could this museum look? How fast can that car go? How good can I tell a story about somebody in the pits that's raced with us tonight? And you don't associate it to, well, I'm going to make $50 per story or whatever. You'll probably do a lot better. So when you get into motivational speaking, I think people will buy into your thought process of do it for the love of it, not just to make the dollar.
I mean, you got to do it for the love of the game, because when you do it for the love, in my opinion, you invest more into it because you're not chasing after something and all of that. But I want to use kind of that quote, the next step there, because you mentioned getting back on the microphone. You did that year with USAC. I think that was kind of your big, I don't want to say breakthrough, but it was kind of like the thing that puts you on the map.
My coming out party, and it didn't go very well.
Words did come to mind, but I didn't want to say them. But kind of like your breakthrough into the
dirt world,
the national dirt world scene. Because at the time, Flow was like this, and it still is a very budding streaming service.
Yeah.
We just got USAC, or they just bought out Speed Sport, I believe, not Speed Sport, Speed Shift.
Speed Shift, yeah.
And they were getting the Flow stuff, and USAC and the All-Stars were really the only thing that they were offering that was drawing people in, because they didn't have the NASCAR deal yet.
Yep.
So you got that gig with USAC, and it kind of brought you up. And then the next year, they went a different direction with Chet, and we kind of, I don't want to say disappeared, but we didn't really hear from you for a year. And then High Limit comes around, and it's, Chase is the announcer, and we're kind of, some of us sitting here like, who's going to be the kind of the pit reporter, because obviously High Limit's probably going to go that direction because you've got a major production, you got to have it.
Yeah.
It comes out and it's going to be you.
Yeah.
I mean, what from the end of the USAC deal to the start of the High Limit deal, like what did you do for that year? Like what was that like, kind of waiting there to want to get back on a mic at that, basically the national level in some way?
So it was 2 years. It was, I had USAC in 21, and then they let me go, or I don't want to get in trouble. They didn't let me go. They just told me I would not be the announcer or doing what I was brought in to do originally. They never seemed to have an answer for what I would do. I was told in December, Chet's coming in to announce, and nothing against Chet Krishner. I would have chosen him over me at that time too. In the moment, I was furious, right? And I was really, really hurt. But looking back on it, you'd be a fool not to put Chet in that position. One, he has all that USAC experience. Fans love him. I mean, I don't know if there's a more loved and revered guy in the sport.
I don't think there is.
That holds a microphone.
I know for me, Chet is got to be at the top of all-time greatest announcers. He's quick with it. He's smart. He thinks on his feet. He's quick with the one-liners. There's no one-liner king out there more than I think Chet Krishner. No, absolutely. And so, so USAC tells me at the end of 21, they're like, Chet's coming back to announce. And I go, well, what does that mean for me? And I could remember the individual on the phone. I almost could hear his shoulders touching his ears because he's just like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, I'm an announcer. I'd be like if you told, Brad or Donnie or Kyle, hey, you're not driving the car anymore. Well, what am I doing? Well, we don't know. Well, that was very tough for me. So I ended up choosing to step away from USAC because they would never tell me what I was going to do. They couldn't put their finger on what it was that I was going to take over and do. So I'm like, well, I'm going to go try to find an opportunity, just like I would expect the driver to do. If Casey Kane told Brad Sweet tomorrow, you're not driving my race car, Brad's not going to go, well, can I improve the tires? He's going to probably go to try to find a race car to drive. So that's what I did. And I approached World Racing Group because that winter they were opening up their Extreme Outlaw deal, the non-wing sprint car and midget division. Well, to me, I'm like, this is a no-brainer. I just spent an entire year calling every major non-wing sprint car race and every major midget race with the exception of the Chili Bowl Nationals, right? I know everybody in this world. I absolutely do. So I go to World Racing Group and, for some inside baseball here, they announced it at PRI, the trade show in Indianapolis. So I live in Indianapolis. I got in my car and I drove straight to PRI and I asked to have a meeting with Brian Dunlap. And it was very tense because I don't think I was out of USAC officially yet. I don't know if I'd told them yet, or maybe I had, but the World Racing Group Outlaw booth at PRI and the USAC booth were not far from each other. And I had been working PRI hosting USAC's live stage. They had a setup very similar to this where we were going live on Flow via USAC's, Flow channel. And we were interviewing drivers about their season and talking about schedule updates. So I kind of had to sneak around at PRI to make sure the right people didn't see me. And I have a backdoor, behind the booth meeting with Brian Dunlap. And he tells me that he couldn't believe that I was getting let go from USAC, which that was cool to hear from him. And then we
talk about the opportunity with the Extreme deal and that whole story aside, they obviously ended up going a different route, but they sold me on the opportunity of, well, hey, we would love to talk to you more about it. And if you are in the building, was the term they kept using. If you're in the building working for us, you're a lot more likely to get that opportunity. And just so happens, we're kicking off a new position as we're starting a position for series content producer. And that's just traveling video guy. And it was for the World of Outlaws sprint cars. So they didn't lead me on. I think they gave me a bit more hope than they probably should have, but they essentially sold me on, if you come on and take over this series content producer role and you go to every World of Outlaws sprint cars, well, you're in a good spot to get picked up. Well, in my head, I'm like, deal, where do you want me to sign? But I wish I would have stepped back and looked at it and gone, well, wait, the World of Outlaws race more than anybody else in the world. How am I going to be their announcer for this non-wing sprint car deal if I've got to be at every single wing sprint? So, but my blinders were on times 100. So I'm just like, yeah, let me apply. I apply, I get the job. And so for 2 years, I'm their video guy. And it was fun. It was cool. I got to travel and have a lot of fun, but I just could not stand what I was doing. I'm okay at video work. I'm proficient with it barely. Ross Weiss was a very good teacher. He was my boss at the World of Outlaws. But I didn't want to do it. It's like I said, if Brad got told by the 49 guys you're out of the car, he's not going to say, can I swipe the tires? He's going to go find a new opportunity. I felt like I was being asked to get out of the driver's seat and groove the tires. Nothing against tire specialists. The car won't go around the track without you guys. I'm not talking shit. But it just wasn't what I wanted to do. So for 2 years, I was very down. People could tell you, that's some loud rain hitting over the top of us.
It's raining right now above us. So
yes.
Anyone that was like, Fremont could have raced.
Fremont could not have raced.
They could not have raced.
It is literally 5:33. The driver's meeting would be getting put on pause right now for umbrellas to come out.
And they're not going to hear this until like probably next week either. Yeah, so they'll all forget about it.
The internet will have calmed down about how wrong we
are.
are.
They're going to still be on the smartwatches deal and all of that.
No, but I mean, I'm probably giving you a lot longer of an answer than you wanted. But
good. You're good. Talk. This is like the one thing people love. They love when the guest just kind of talks and tells the story.
Yeah. For 2 years, it was really, really tough because I was terrified. I was genuinely terrified that I had run out of roads because to come to USAC in 21, I stepped away from every opportunity I had in the pavement world, road course, pavement, IndyCar, IMSA, which is what I had done for 7 or 8 years prior to coming to USAC. I quit or said no thank you to opportunities in that world to come to USAC in 21. So I kind of essentially burnt all those bridges, said, waved goodbye to them, got to USAC, did poorly, was not brought back. And now I'm standing here going, nobody wants me to drive their car. Nobody wants me to announce their series. So for 2 years, I was super up a creek, right, without a paddle, and did not know what to do. And God puts you in situations, I think, to find out how you'll react and find out if you have faith. And he also puts you in situations so you can find out about the people around you. And I had great people around me. I had people that stayed on my side and convinced me that I'd have another opportunity. I had a hard time believing them, but you trust them. And then, obviously the opportunity showed up, and I can go into that if you'd like. But the main point was that for 2 years, I was very, I don't want to say distraught. I wasn't diving into alcoholism. I wasn't drinking anymore. I wasn't drinking any less. But it was a very hard time because I love what I do. When USAC ended and I couldn't find anything, I thought, oh, wow, I'm at the end of my road. I'm done doing what I like to do so much. So yeah, 2 years was super tough. And that's why, to the thing we were just talking about, I would love to be at the Indy 500 next week. I would love it. But I'm not going to look at the people who gave me the opportunity and say, hey, thanks for this chance. Can I take the weekend off if I don't absolutely have to? So, it's just all about sacrifice. And like you said, doing it for the love of the game. I love the game. I really wish I could be at other places once in a while, but you can't ask for the opportunity. You can't ask for the meal and then not eat all of it. You know what I mean?
100%.
So, that's some deep food logic from Tony LaPorta.
That'll be good. That's good. I think a lot of people wondered a little bit, how you got to the USAC thing first. I had no idea you were kind of on the pavement side with all of that.
That's why when you said 2021 was my year that I broke into the national dirt scene, I wanted to stop you and go, no. That was my break into the world of dirt. other than a random, like maybe like 600cc sprint deal that a little dirt track in Florida that I stumbled into one weekend when I was there announcing national karting. The tech guys took me and said, hey, we're going to go see some sprint cars tonight. Well, I thought they were going to Bubba because we were racing go-karts in Ocala. Well, we didn't go to Bubba Raceway Park. We went to, Gator County Speedrome, and there were these little tiny micros or Hornets, or I don't even know what they were. And the track announcer that night just happened to be sick. And they're like, the tech guys from the karting series, good Lord, that's coming down. The tech guys from the go-karting series just randomly were like, well, we got an announcer with us. And the next thing I know, I'm calling. So that one little tiny micro or whatever it was race was all of my dirt racing experience. So in 2021, when I took over for USAC, that wasn't my national breakthrough. That was my dirt racing breakthrough. Everything I'd done before that was pavement and cars that went left and right and had wings on them and open cockpit. So yeah, for the most part, USAC was a complete breakthrough to a totally different world of motorsport.
How did you, so I know you had mentioned when we did the segment before this that you didn't really get born into the racing world.
Just dirt racing.
Into dirt racing.
Yeah, you're not even racing.
Okay, it's not even racing. So how did you get from, young Tony LaPorta to in the racing world in general, and then in the pavement side before the dirt? How did that whole
I'm sure that
thing?
I don't know about your story, but I'm guessing somebody in your family was in the sport. Somebody raced.
Yeah,
rich.
My dad and then my grandpa.
That's right. Members of the Hall of Fame here. I didn't have that. Nobody in my family knew anything about racing. I had a great grandfather that would watch the Daytona 500 and he'd watch the Indy 500, but he couldn't tell you 5 guys in the field probably. So it's a super, super random story. My mom's mother, my grandmother, retires in Colorado, retires. And then her and her husband decide to relocate down to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And she gets down there and gets a part-time job just to do something. You know how senior citizens today, they'll drive Uber? Well, we didn't have that back then. So she got a part-time job working the gift shop in the back of a NASCAR cafe. And I don't know if you guys know what those were. It's a theme restaurant. They had them in Daytona Beach, Myrtle Beach, Orlando. I think there was one in Richmond, Virginia. Probably anywhere where NASCAR was already popular. It was just your total run of the mill, think of a TGI Fridays menu, but NASCAR. The checkered flag chicken tenders and the Daytona burger, right? And the Victory Lane, whatever. And it was just stock car on the wall, stock car on the ceiling, gas can on the wall. And it was all NASCAR because at that time, I'm a kid, 01, 02, 03, 04. NASCAR's at its height of its popularity. They were slapping, they were selling ceiling fans with NASCAR drivers' faces on. That's how popular NASCAR was. Yeah. Kids today don't know that. So she gets a job working the gift shop in the back of that restaurant. And again, it's NASCAR's height of popularity. So it's every driver's got 5 different die casts. You can pick from 4 different hats. They had 10 t-shirts per car, different designs. There was arcade games, a simulator, and she got a job working there. Well, I had a very close relationship with my grandmother, loved her. We talked all the time. And all of a sudden I just started getting boxes in the mail. And you know how grandmothers are. They just send you stuff because they want to, because they miss you, because they love you. And I was blessed. I had a great grandmother and she would just start sending me these race cars. And more of them started showing up that were orange, number 20. And the guy who drove them had the same name as me, Tony. And I just started calling her on the phone and it'd be a weekend and she'd call me from South. Are you guys watching the NASCAR race? Turn it on. It's, it's on NBC. And we'd sit there and talk during the race or wait for the race to be over and talk. What did you see that? What do you think? And just slowly through a relationship with her, I fell in love with NASCAR. And I'm 5th grade. I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a NASCAR driver. It doesn't matter that I've never driven anything. It doesn't matter that Colorado is a desert for motorsports. I don't care. That's what I'm going to do. And so, yeah, it was genuinely just through a grandmother that got a part-time job. I went down to visit her for a summer. We went to the Darlington night race and then I stayed with her for a month. And I think every weekday of that month, I went with her to work and I just sat there in that gift shop and read the magazines, watched the movies, memorized stats. I was a NASCAR freak as a kid. So yeah, all because of grandma got a job working in the gift shop and started sending me Tony Stewart cars. That set my life on a path that nobody could have No, I still can't believe I'm on it now. So yeah, grandma working in the gift shop is what got me to sitting here at the Fremont Speedway Hall of Fame. Thank God for her.
Nobody would believe that.
I know.
Nobody would believe that.
Now everybody else is like, my dad's dad raced and, he worked on cars or he owned cars. And I'm like, my grandma worked in a gift shop. And they're like, all right, whatever, Tubby. So, but I'm blessed that it went that way.
So that gets you into it. When did you get your first, foray into announcing or like broadcasting or however that occurred?
Found a sprint karting. I don't know what kind of go-karting you guys have here in Ohio. Probably dirt flat track.
Yeah. I mean, they got the Idiot series around here, which is like, they're trying to go back to like the old days with
what's it called?
The Idiots.
Idiots.
I have no idea what it stands for.
That's not a politically correct term. I promise you that.
But they're trying to go back to the old and like groove tires and fenders and stuff.
Oh, wow.
So, but it's mostly the dirt flat.
We didn't have flat track, dirt track go-karting, which again, when you're a NASCAR kid, you realize, this is how all those guys grew up. Like Tony Stewart, he was an IKF champion and Jeff Gordon did this and all this. So I'm at 5th grade, which is already way too late to be started in karting. You should have started when you're like 4, not in 4th grade. I'm looking at all these guys and I'm reading their books and watching their movies and they're all in, dirt track, flat track go-karts. Well, all we could find in Colorado was paved road course karting. It's called sprint karting. You sit upright in the cart and it's much more to prepare you for like IndyCar or Formula cars, not turning left all the time. But I was like, that's it. That's the only form I'll get into it, right? I'll become a road course specialist when I get to NASCAR, whatever. So got into karting, raced 2 or 3 years, was terrible at it. I basically looked like this as a 15-year-old. I was just awful, right? One of the guys that was a big part of my life in karting and owned a track in the area once described me as 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag in my seat and in my suit. I was so big at 14, 15 years old when we finally started racing that in that kind of karting, it goes like junior, which is like 12 to 15 years old, senior, 16 and up, and then masters were like 35 and up. Well, there was an amendment in the junior rule book. I should have been racing juniors at my age, but if the driver had a personal body weight of 210 pounds or more, they would get bumped up to masters immediately. So at 15 years old, I'm racing against 35-year-old dudes, right? So I wasn't meant to be a race car driver at this size. I know there's big guys who've done it. I wasn't one of them. My dad had no mechanical background. I didn't either. We were literally like, monkeys screwing around with a football, to clean that phrase up. So raced for 3 years, was terrible at it, spent a lot of my parents' money, burned a lot of my parents' money. And also my dad was like, you're not racing if your grades are bad. Well, I don't know what 2 + 2 is. So the grades got bad pretty quick. And, finally, at the end of what would have been my 3rd year in karting, I'm at a race that I should have been competing in, but I wasn't because my dad's like, your grades are terrible. Like, I want you to graduate high school, not become a race car driver. I'm just hanging out at the track. And I was really good friends with the guy who was the series director, the race director. And I'm just standing there by him all day, just blah, 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 like, I'm sure you can believe. And it's the last race of the day. It's the Masters, the guys I've raced with for a year or two now. And he just looks at me. He's an older guy himself. And he just looks at me. And in probably rougher language than this, he goes, take this microphone. Because he was standing down there on the pitch, just calling classes up, right? Like juniors, 5 minutes out, seniors, 10 minutes out, minis, whatever. He gives me the microphone to the PA system and goes, take this, go up there to the booth and leave me alone. I've never announced anything in my life. I'm a senior in high school. I'm just an idiot. So I go up there and me and another kid just screw around.
Yeah.
We call it. I had a decent voice and they were like, that was the last race of that season. They were like, hey, you're not terrible at it. You want to come back and do it next year? And that would have been the summer of 11, I think, summer of 2011. And just from there, I that whole first year I worked in karting, I didn't make $1. The series was brand new and couldn't pay anybody. So I announced for free my whole first year.
Love the game. You
got to love the game. I didn't even know what I was loving yet. I really didn't. I was getting ready to go to college to try to walk on and become a D2 football player. And that's that first summer of announcing karting. A guy at one of the tracks we raced at ran a Legends car series. And he thought I was good enough to pay. So he asked me, would I come out and announce his 3-night summer series for money? And that was the first time I ever got paid to announce anything. And that was, like I said, summer of 11. Yeah, going into my freshman year of college. And then from there, every year, it just got a little bit bigger. Went from regional karting in Colorado and Utah to national karting to international karting. And then The karting series had a partnership with the Road to Indy, which is a junior IndyCar deal, and it gets divergent from there. But yeah, somebody was tired of me talking their ear off and bugging them when I should have been racing, and they said, "Here, quit bugging me, leave me alone." And we're coming up on 15 years or 18 years, something like that.
I'm not good at math.
Yeah, neither am I. That's why I'm not driving anymore.
Yeah.
So just kind of I was there in the right place at the right time, and somebody gave me a mic, and here we are in the Fremont Speedway Hall of Fame.
Quite the journey. From Colorado to high limit.
It's crazy. I mean, we're coming up on 10 years that I've been involved in big time motorsport, because my first year with Road to Indy was the spring of 16. And I just had this thought the other day where I'm thinking about doing something kind of like this, but like my own thing, where I put out sort of like a series of stories of things that have happened in the last 10 years in my time in big time motorsport. Because I was IMSA's public address announcer, if you know what IMSA is, the Rolex 24, 12-hour Sebring. I've been on IndyCar radio. I was Mazda's North American announcer for their MX5 Cup Global Challenge. I've gotten to do so much crazy stuff, and you joke about it, but yeah, the last 10, 15 years have just been crazy. Like, you could not have told me and made me believe it, what I've gotten to do, from, getting paid to go to Daytona International Speedway and be on the PA system there, announcing in Indianapolis. We went to Australia 6 months ago for sprint cars, and I got a round trip paid for and made money while I was there to go to the farthest point away on earth because of sprint cars and my voice. So, dude, it's no joke. I mean, the life I've gotten to live in racing has been nothing but a blessing, and it's crazy. So yeah, I'll always tell people about it, because most of the time I have to say it out loud because I don't believe it happened. But it's been so cool. People I've met, not even an announcing thing, but I just told you that Tony Stewart's my end all be all, right? Like, if he came in here right now and told me to knock you out, I'd do it. I wouldn't even think about it. Well, it wasn't an announcing thing, but through a mutual, ironically from Colorado, who is his PR specialist on the drag racing side, I've made 2 behind the scenes day in the life videos for Tony Stewart for his personal YouTube page. And I've gone to dinner with the guy. I've had lunch with the guy. He's picked up my tab. Like, you could have never made me believe that would happen when I was a 15-year-old kid, right? And the fact that guy recognizes me now when I walk down the street, it's just like, there's no way that should happen. He shouldn't know who I am. And I've gotten to work with him. I made the behind the scenes video for his NHRA debut at Gainesville, and I get in the tow vehicle with him to pull the top fuel car up to the track, to the starting line. He's in the right front seat. The mechanic who's driving the tow vehicle up has to get out to do something to the car. I'm sitting behind the driver's seat, and there's no one here. So all of a sudden, we're sitting in this tow vehicle and no one else is in the car but Tony Stewart and I. And he just starts talking to me because he's nervous. He's about to go down the track for the first time in competent. And I'm like, oh my God, hit record. Thank God I remember to do that, right? So I get this really cool, intimate conversation. But I'm thinking to myself, this guy's about to make another milestone in his career. And I'm one of the last people he's going to talk to before he climbs behind the wheel and does it. It's crazy. Like the shit I've gotten to do and experience, I don't deserve it. So yeah, dude, it's insane.
Yeah. So to kind of transition from a serious side to a funny side, I wanted to bring this up when you were talking about, traveling to Australia with the high limit stuff. It is very, at least from a viewer standpoint, is very much more fan friendly, a lot more engagement wise. And I've said before to people, like, if you could take the Outlaws capital that they have, and all
name,
of that, and you give it like high limits, personalities and all that, you would have like this super racing series, and nobody else would ever be able to compete against it. But with that high limit personality stuff, we get you, like you, Chase, now they have, B-Walks with them and stuff like that. Kind of, I think it was last year, may have been 2 years ago. You're at Cedar Lake and all of a sudden they go down to you and the camera's on you and you're standing in like the puddle with, your jeans rolled up. Yeah. And you're talking, like, when you're at a track and you're doing all this stuff, where do these ideas come from? And like, do you look at it and then kind of laugh and say, I don't know if I should do this, but I'm going to do it? Like, yeah. I mean, what goes through that thought process for you? Because you guys are allowed, or at least I shouldn't say allowed, but do show a lot more personality compared to, other racing series out there where it's very much straight here's the deal. Back to you. Like, you guys come in. It's like, I had steak last night.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, what goes through your guys' thought process when you're doing these? And is a lot of it just kind of ad lib? Is it like coming down to you and whatever you say is what you go with?
I hope people don't think that there's script meetings.
It would be hard to believe High Limit's scripted.
Yeah, I know. I mean that to the point of like, at no point from day one when Chase and I were hired to today, sitting here, what is it, May 14th at 5:50 p.m. Nobody once has sat him and I down and said, do this, don't do that. I mean, yeah, we're told the obvious stuff, right? Like try not to promote the schedule for competing series, but we've never once been sat down and told, hey, you got to do this. And then when he says that, you do this. And then, but if he says this, because you could never plan for that, right? You could never, ever plan for that. So the short answer to your question is everything's live. Nothing is planned. Chase and I just seem to have somewhat similar senses of humor. He's a lot more buttoned up. He's a lot more statistical driven, right? That's why his whiteboard videos do so well. Chase is a guy that loves the numbers, right? Chase is someone who really likes to tell you like the stats of the sport because he's just that kind of guy. He just enjoys that better. I want to know how many races you've won. I want to know how many times you finished top 5 here at Fremont. But the real answer to your question is it's all about relatability, because that Road to Indy series I worked with in 2015, 2016, 2017, I say this every interview I'm in. I don't mean to tear down the series. I don't want to, defame those cars or those drivers, but the racing is nothing special. It's truly not. It's these underpowered, over aerodynamic, sensitive, open wheel, little junior Indy cars. So my point is nobody's watching those races, period. And if they are, they're not watching it because they want to know how did driver X, Y, and Z do, because the racing's not good enough.
It's like the night before the 5 when they're there for the USAC show and like 99% of the people are for the USAC show and they just got to watch it because they run at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So where I'm going with this is on the Road to Indy TV show I hosted, I showed up there wanting to be like Chase. I showed up there wanting to know, okay, when are we going to talk about dampers and wing adjustments? And when are we going to talk about, the buttons on the steering wheel and the drivers? Whoa, we're not doing any of that, because the producers of that show realized what I didn't yet and I do now, which is this racing is not exciting enough to sell. Sorry. We're going to showcase the kids that drive these cars, because if we can get similarly aged individuals interested in Zane, who has hobby A, B, and C, and we can show Zane off to this 20, 30, 50,000 subscriber list of, 14 to 22-year-old guys, they might look at you and go, I have hobby A and B, and I don't care about C, but I'll learn about it. Oh, and you also drive race cars? Boom, we've got our hooks in them now, right? And they're going to tune in because we show them Oliver Askew, this kid from Jupiter, Florida, who plays guitar, and Kyle Kirkwood, his buddy, who goes out and deep sea fishes. Okay, well, I like playing guitar. I deep sea fish. I skateboard, whatever. I want to know more about this guy, and I guess I'll learn about his racing. Well, then they start to find out, the racing's not terrible. It's pretty cool. So my thing from Road to Indy to IMSA sports cars to USAC sprint cars to Chili Bowl midgets to here is, at the end of the day, 95% of the people in the grandstands, and let's call it 60 to 70% of the people watching on Flow, because if you pay for Flow, you probably know a bit about the sport. The vast majority of our audience does not know the difference between this torsion bar and the other. They don't care what you're doing with Stacker because they don't know. And it's very easy to lose people when you make it too technical for them. I'm one of them. I did not grow up working on these cars. If you guys come up to me and go, man, we're putting this bar in and we're taking that bar out, I don't know what that's going to do to the race car because it changes every single night. So instead of walking up to a driver and a crew and going, well, what's the setup for tonight? I don't care about the setup because the fans in the crowd don't care either. What they care about is Brent Marks just had a baby. How many dads do you think are in the crowd? Spencer Basin shot a turkey last spring before coming to a race at High Limit. How many hunters do you think live in the Fremont, Ohio area who might go, I'm hunting spring turkey this year. I got a turkey lot. I'm going for deer this year. I want to know more about that guy. And then boom, we have them, because it's the exact opposite here in this world. The racing is so good. You don't need Chase or I to tell you that. You don't need Johnny Gibson. You don't need Brian Holbert. You don't need Chet. You don't need me. You don't need Chase. You don't need announcers in this kind of racing. It's so good. Mute it. Because you'll watch the cars and just be like, that's awesome. Where we fail as a sport is selling our drivers, because they're interesting people. Like even Brad gets this knock for being like, he doesn't he flies home to California a lot. Maybe he's not working on his race car in the pits. That guy's a businessman like you don't understand, right? The deals that he's been involved in or has had the opportunity, there's so many business people that come to these races. You don't think they want to know more about the business side of the sport and how he does. So to answer your question, yeah, to me, it's all about relatability. You can tell me all about how many wins you have here at Fremont and how many track championships. And that is important because it means you're a good driver. But does a guy that have less wins than you not deserve to get talked about? No, I don't think so. If he's got some awesome story and I know that 40% of the crowd is going to immediately go, I'm into that. Well, then why wouldn't we tell that story? I've told stories about guys running 8th in the D main and people text me afterwards or DM me on Twitter or hit me up and go, I never knew that. Oh, and that's it. That's the whole thing, right? I bet you knew that he wasn't running well, but you didn't know that he paints his frame this color because his dad's up in the grandstands and has failing vision and he wants his dad to be able to see his race car better. Who can't relate to that? Who hasn't had a family member go through something and you do something special for them? So, yeah, and then just like to take the relatability one level deeper, the fun stuff, right? I can tell you stats till your freaking ears are bleeding, but you'll probably remember more about a driver if I tell you something funny or relatable about him, or I'm doing something funny when you hear about it, right? So the pond thing, you're kind of mixing up two stories. A couple of years ago at Cedar Lake, that was Chase who stood in a boat in a pond at the track up in Wisconsin. Last year in East Bay, I crawled into a pond in turn 1 and I did a hit down there about how locals in Tampa Bay believe that as the tide rises in the bay, a mile away from the racetrack in the Tampa Bay, as the tide comes in, the locals that race there believe the water table rises and that saturates the dirt around the track from underneath. And then as the tide goes back out at the end of the night, the track will slick off quicker. So I'm like, how do we make this relatable? I'm going to get down into that pond because, again, some of the locals there, they would debate this. They would believe that that pond in turn 1 would rise and lower with the tide. It wasn't from the tide. It was just a freaking rain collection, right? But I rolled up my pants because I was told, all right, you're going on air in 4 minutes for your pre-feature hit. Chase goes through the lineup, and then I get 3 minutes or 2 minutes to talk about whatever I want. Well, it's night 1 of brand new job for me. High Limits, it's first national race ever of a national tour. I better do something memorable. So I rip off my sneakers, pull off my socks, roll my pants up, and walked into that pond not knowing how deep it was, if there was shit living in it or anything. I didn't check for open wounds or nothing. I'm a fly fisherman. I crawl into rivers anyway, and I don't check if there's stuff leaking out of me anyway. So I ran down there just because I was like, okay, I could stand up here out on the inside of turn 1 and people see me from here up and I tell them something that they probably already know. Or I can crawl down into this pond, look ridiculous, and talk about the water table affecting grip levels as the night goes on. Like, what story would you rather hear?
The latter, obviously.
Yeah, and so yeah, dude, for me, it's just like people know the racing's good here. We don't need to sell sprint car racing. We need to sell the people in it. We need to sell the drivers, the crew chiefs, the crew guys, the tire specialists, the car owners, the wives, the girlfriends, anybody who wants to be involved, because people don't relate to race cars. They relate to people. That's all I'll say.
Race cars are just moving billboards.
Well, I get crap all the time.
I say that, but they're more. Right?
They're way more. But at the end of the day, I get crap all the time from some of the guys I work with about how, well, he doesn't know the sport really. He's just good with people. Brother, these things don't move if there ain't people in them. These things don't get to the track if there ain't people driving the haulers, right? And it's rich that I say all this in a Hall of Fame because like this room we're in is all built on the accomplishments. But I bet every one of these people in these pictures and who've held these trophies had pretty cool stories. And everybody on that wall has a story that's probably pretty important. So yeah, their stats are great. And I'm not saying the stats don't matter. I'm just saying I remember a lot more about people that when the story is personal versus you come up to me and going, I make $67,000 a year. I've been at the job for 7 years. I have a 4-bedroom house and I've got 2 kids. Well, I'll forget that, right? But if you tell me like, man, I ran over a guy with my car, I'm probably going to remember that about you. You know what I mean? So that's my view on it. And people don't always agree with it, but I don't know. I just look at it. If I'm in the audience, if I'm watching this broadcast, what am I going to learn more about? Or what do I want to learn more about? The people or the tires on the car, the engine in the car? I'd rather learn about the people.
I can listen to stories all day.
Yeah, who doesn't like stories?
You give me stats, I'm probably zeroing out at some point. And you mentioned the stories, and it's funny enough because I'm looking right in front of me and they can't see on the camera for people to watch it. There's a picture over there of an R3 sprint car. It's behind that group photo. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. The kid in it is actually my dad.
Oh, wow.
And it's Mike Bogart. And my dad kind of, I'll probably get this wrong. He's going to yell at me. I think that was like the first race car he ever sat in. And he sat in it and was like, I want to be a race car driver.
Your dad, the kid in the photo?
Yeah. I sat in and he was like, this is cool. I want to be a race car driver.
Yep.
And that's like his story into it.
Yep.
And then, I'll probably get this wrong too. I think it was Craig Mintz maybe sat in my dad's car for the first time. And now Craig is like, this local, key legend or
and that's where he found out he wanted to be involved in it.
It's just crazy. Like stories like that, I think tell so much more than he won this many races. Yeah. Like I can look into that and be like, look at the record books and find that, you know, I always have said when I started this whole deal, I was like, people know what's going on the track. They've read about it. They've watched it.
Yep.
You get on Twitter right now and all you hear about is watches and wings.
Yep.
They all know that.
Yep.
What they don't know is this person after this went and did this, or they, overcame this. And I think the Dirt series, the TV miniseries, whatever you want to call it, that they're doing, does a really good job of kind of portraying that. Definitely, I think the first season, because it's talking about Kyle's loss at the Chili Bowl to Chris.
Yep.
And Caitlin goes, it was bad. Like, I've never seen him like that. But you would probably never know that about Kyle because he never shows any emotion, hardly ever whatsoever. And you never really get to see into his personal life because obviously at his level, he kind of tries to keep that secret. But you get this and she's telling about it and you're like, oh, like it really kind of messed with him that he basically threw away a race because he missed the bottom.
And take it one more level, another level deeper. That show is meant to go out and get fans, right? That show is not made for, us three in here. That show is made to go get fans. And who's a great demographic to go after with a show that Kyle Larson stars in? NASCAR. Well, if you're a NASCAR fan who only knows about Kyle Larson for winning the Cup Championship a couple years ago and all the big stuff he's done in NASCAR, and maybe you know about his Indy 500, you see this show talking about this to people who don't know any better, this little podunk dirt race inside of a building in Oklahoma, and his wife is telling you that he took that loss harder than any other race that he's lost in a long time probably. You have to click on and go, if you're not a total hater, which that side of every sport's got their haters in it, right? I know people in our sport who think NASCAR is the biggest waste of time and the Indy 500 is a pointless event. They're just haters. And NASCAR and IndyCar have those. Everything's got haters, right? But if you're someone who's open-minded and you're a NASCAR fan or an IndyCar fan or you're a big-time motorsports fan, you hear Kyle Larson, this AJ Foyt of our generation, took this dirt car race so hard. I need to learn more about that. That's the relatability I'm talking about, right? And the fact that Caitlin goes on, I didn't even see that episode or part you're talking about.
I think it's like the second or third episode of the first season.
I caught bits and pieces of that season of Dirt because they made that in 21 when I was announcing USAC, or a little bit of 21 and a little bit of 22. So like I pop up in that, but I don't sit around and watch it. That's the relatability. Those shows are like exactly what I'm talking about. We can do tech talks and chassis breakdowns all day, which are awesome. I love learning about the technical side of these cars. I produced a tech talk series at the Outlaws for 2 years with Nate Repitz, who at the time was on Carson Macedo's car. Now he's on Anthony Macri's. And he would walk you through an individual, the wing ram or the shocks, or he would torsion arms, right? And he would tell you what that's, I don't want to get rid of that. I'm not saying I want to get rid of the black and white stuff on our sport. I'm not. But if you want fans, if you want people to just care enough to know about that technical, you need to put your hooks in them. And something bright and shiny like Dirt, the show, or these funny, stupid stories. That's how you do it. So I don't know. This sport is so cool. Everybody should know about it. But we don't need to sell the racing. It's good enough. If you get someone in the stands here at Fremont, they're probably going to go, I'm coming back. No doubt they're going to come back. But what's the next level? How do they go buy t-shirts? Who do they pick to support? Why should they give a shit about this guy versus that guy? If the racing's all good, well, then they're just going to come keep buying tickets, watch the race and go. But how do they get deep enough to go, I'm buying season tickets to this place. I'm going to travel. I'm going to support that guy. You need to give them reasons and things to bite on. So that's how I've always looked at it, is like, dude, we can tell you numbers all day, but like Dale Earnhardt, probably the most popular driver in NASCAR's history. He won 76 races. There's dozens of drivers that have won more than him. But if you just take it by the numbers, Dale Earnhardt's not that big of a deal because he won 76 Cup races before he died. I argue that he's the biggest thing NASCAR's ever had. But if you just go by the numbers, you're gonna be led to believe something completely different. So
this guy Dale Jr., I think. I mean,
totally.
Look at his career, definitely not
even
superstar numbers.
Even
but
better example.
Been the face of NASCAR
Totally.
for years. Even after he's been gone, he's still somewhat the face of NASCAR. I mean,
better example. That's a much better example.
Got the personality of it. He's personable. He's relatable.
I don't even know if he had 50 Cup wins in his career.
Yeah, the numbers are very underwhelming compared to what you think they would be because of how large he was with the sport. And granted, some of that's because of his dad and stuff like that and all that. But
Budweiser on
the career stats are very underwhelming.
They're damning.
Everybody knows him because it's the personality of Dale Jr.
That's an even better example. But Dale Jr. ushered NASCAR into this mega popular era. And you'd look at it, if you only read his box scores, you'd go, pretty shitty driver. Why do I care about anything he says? Oh, he's got a show and a podcast and who cares? Wrong. Because he's a figure in the sport. He's lived it his whole life. And there's people like that up and down the sprint car record books as well. I'm not taking anything away from the stats. They're important. But just like how you pointed out that picture of your dad by that R3, that makes me care a lot more about that photo than just going, oh, that's an old car. I don't care about an old car. I care about the people in it. So yeah, that's my view on it. That's why I always try to keep things a little bit more light and a little bit just more relatable. Nobody's going to relate to the torsion bar on a sprint car. I hate to say it. They're going to relate to the guy who put it in, and they're going to relate to the guy who's driving it, not the piece of metal itself. So that's my point of view on just like keeping it simple for everybody.
I think that's why Rico's so good at what he does for his own brand, because it's not, his stuff doesn't seem to be very race based. No. It's all, we love coming here. We always stop here. Brett's t-shirt trailer. Like in his videos, he doesn't ever really seem to talk about racing much. He maybe mentions it, but it's all, and I think it's him on his one wheel riding around the track. And he's talking about how much he loves the place, how much he loves traveling.
And I think one of the big reasons for that is he has a massive fan base of kids. So he can't go up to a group of 10-year-olds and be like, yeah, it's getting tight in the middle of 4 and we're thinking we're going to do this to it. And, I just got to work on it. Because they're going to look at him and go, what are you talking about, dude? Show us your dog. That's what kids want with Rico. They want to know about what he did this week. And that's kids to adults, right? But yeah, you're 100% right. Rico's the most popular guy in our sport by a country mile. And it's because he shows off who he is. And he's very likable. And he's very personable. He makes you feel like you could talk to him for an hour and it not get dull. He can talk to you about racing. He's an amazing-minded guy in the sport. He knows the mechanical side of it. He knows the driving side of it clearly, but he can also talk to you about your life, his life, and you have a great time doing it. That's why interviewing Rico is so easy, and I never have to study up on him. I don't have to look at I keep a small OneNote. It's the Microsoft OneNote. I try to keep notes on everybody, so that way before a heat interview or before a dash, I might be able to cheat and look at something. But Rico, you don't need to do that. Because he's one of those guys where, like I said, the racing, you can mute it. Rico, you don't need me. You could just put the microphone on a stand and he'd walk up and just let it rip. So yeah, we're lucky that the sport has guys like that, but we need to do a better job of showcasing them. And I'm just trying to do that. And if we do that, I think we're all going to ride off into the sunset, probably pretty okay. Yeah,
I agree. And here's my hot take for the episode. Whiskey Myers is not that bad.
They're not.
They're not that bad. The hate that they get in this community is unreal.
Yeah.
And it's all because I think people only hate him because of the whole 4-wide deal and they hate breaking tradition. Whiskey Myers is not that bad.
They're not.
I tell everyone, listen to him. I'm glad Rico still promotes him all the time. And I love that it pisses people off the way it does.
It's a twofold thing. Country music's the only kind of music in the world where if you say you like if you are in a room of people, strangers, and you go, I like hip hop, nobody's going to say anything. If you say, I like rap, nobody's going to say. If I like rock, nobody's going to say anything. But if you're in a room full of people that you don't know, I promise you, try this. People watching at home, yourself, whatever, go into a random place. You don't have to know them. Say, I like country. Someone will stand up and go, country sucks. Why? What did that do? How did that help the conversation, right? What did that do to move us along here, right? You don't walk into a place and go, I like steakhouses for dinner. Oh, steak sucks, right? People just like to hate because hating is so easy. It's so easy to just be like, Whiskey Myers bad, country music suck. There's a few people that let the Whiskey Myers thing ruin their viewing experience of the World of Outlaws. And now this, and it's just like, how like simple brained do you have to be to go, I don't like that music. My favorite thing's ruined. I just can't get over those people. But I'm also grateful I'm not them, because I go, wow, I can hear something I don't like and realize it's going to be on the air for maybe 30 more seconds, and then I'll stop.
Yeah, it's
hearing.
Only one song either. I mean,
oh my God, can you imagine Fremont Speedway, one of your favorite places in the world, painting their seats a different color, and you being like, nope, never coming back. Like, and that's a bad example, because that's a permanent thing, right? If at Fremont they were just like, up until hot laps, we're going to sell pink lemonade in the grandstands, and then we'll go back to traditional lemonade. And you're just like, nope, not me. I'm never supporting again. How dumb would you have to be?
What do you think something that Fremont could do that would be similar to that? What's Fremont got that everybody knows it for? We're looking at Rich over here. The racetrack.
Yeah, the speedway. Yeah. So if Fremont.
Yeah, people would probably lose their mind. Yeah.
But imagine if the sign only said something other than the track that Action built for 30 minutes a night. Would that allow people? Would people here be like, nope, never coming back again? It's going to go back.
Somebody probably would. I know. Somebody would.
Yeah.
Which is,
I agree with you though. It is aided by the fact I enjoy country music. I enjoy Texas country music. But yeah, people who let Whiskey Myers ruin their night because we play it on the way to Victory Lane. Man, I got news for you. You got way worse problems probably coming down the road. So,
yeah. And they're all really cool people too.
What's that? The people who bitch about it?
No, Whiskey Myers.
Oh yeah, no,
the people
those guys
in the band
are awesome.
Cool. Because when I was in Texas, I was touring with a band down there, so I got to meet a lot of different people and worked a show that they had headlined.
Yeah,
and I mean they were all super cool. So I think it was Cody Canada was the night before or whatever, and then they were next. I can't remember, but met most of them. Super cool people, and I'm just like,
they're from out in
East.
You're
hating them for no reason.
They're from out in East Texas, a really cool area that I've gotten to spend time in, and they came through Indianapolis last summer, and Rico invited us to go out there and catch the show with them. And I was somewhere else. It was a weekend off. We went somewhere. But yeah, they're awesome. And just, again, it's like, here's this thing that has nothing to do with racing. And they want to spend money in our sport. They want to infuse our sport with money and make it better. And because they don't sing the songs you like, you're going to go like, no, bad, get them out. Like if somebody came in here and was like, this is really cool. I like this museum. I want to make it 5 times bigger, and I'll give you guys the money to do that. But they drink Coke over Pepsi. Would you guys be like, no, bad, not want your money? No, you'd be like, hell yeah, man. We'll put Pepsi or Coke stickers, whatever. So yeah, I just love how such small things that mean nothing to people affect them in such terrible ways. I pray.
And it's even funnier too, and everyone's saying we need more money in the sport and all that. And it's like you got someone wanting to put the money in it, and then you hate them because you don't like them. But
turn down your flow or your dirt vision for 30 seconds.
Yeah, just hit the mute button.
Yep.
Because you know when it's on and off. But
yep, exactly.
We'll wrap this up here. Tony, you got any final thoughts? Want to get out there or things that maybe someone wouldn't know, but you think they should know, or really anything. I mean,
go fishing. Go fishing. If you get outside and you go fishing, or you go for a hike, or you get outdoors, you realize things probably aren't as stressful as they really are. Not saying things aren't stressful, but everybody today is so glued to their phones and being, hey, it's comfortable inside. Let's stay in. Let's watch this. Let's do that. I'm guilty of it too, but like, man, get outside, go to a sprint car race, get outside, go to a baseball game, get outside, go fishing, get outside and just do anything. I don't know. Yeah. Everybody gets so wrapped up, and you kind of can tell pretty quick who the people who get outside are and who aren't. And, I spend most of my life outside doing this deal. So, I don't know, go outside, go fishing, buy a fly rod, stand in a river, breathe for a second, do something without a screen or without earbuds in. And you'll, if you have a bad time, call me. I'll buy all that stuff from you and go do it myself. So yeah, I don't know.
You gotta get fishing with Jack Hewitt at Eldor's Pond. You gotta do that segment again, but with you.
Well, I'm stoked now because Levi Jones runs that place, and he was my boss at USAC, and I'm still friendly with him. And I know other people out there. I was close with Roger Schlack when he ran it. And then, Jonathan Bateman runs a lot of their sound stuff. And him and I work together every time I've been out there because, he has to make sure Chase and I sound good. and I'm getting all my connections lined up. I really want to hit those guys up one time and be like, hey, we're in town a day early. Think I can get in that pond? Because I would love to fish that pond and try it. But Tyler Burnett made that cool piece with Jack Hewitt a summer or two ago. And I got to interview Jack during a fan fest thing before our portion of the Kings Royal week. You know, they run Kings Royal Friday, Saturday. We're there Wednesday, Thursday, which sounds like now that'll be like the end of the week. We come here to make up the high limit Fremont deal. I got to interview Jack, and holy crap, man, you want to talk about a guy that doesn't need a question or someone to ask him one? That's Jack Hewitt. He's killer. But yeah, dude, he fishes. He told me he got out of a really, really bad wreck, and he tells Burnett the story in the flow piece. So go look it up. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but he gets out of a really bad wreck. They treat him in Indianapolis at a hospital right off like 38th or 71st, and he's in there rehabbing, and it's whatever it was. I don't know if it was a broken leg or a broken arm or a hip replacement or what, but they're like, you know, Mr. Hewitt, what can we do to get you, you know, out and about and feeling a little bit better? And he goes, call my son, or, you know, I'm messing up details, but he basically says, get my fishing gear here. Or no, he goes, let me fish. And they had a pond out back of the hospital, and they took him out there, and he says like, they give me some crappy little like Zebco with like a wax worm on it or something. And he goes, yeah, he's like, you know, get my son here. His kid brought out his like good bass fishing rods and everything, and he got to sit there and actually fish for real. So yeah, go fishing, get outside, get off the internet, get off your phone, go outside and do something. It'll probably make you feel better. That's my advice.
Being outside is good for the soul. You won't change
dude,
my mind.
Go to a concert. Go. It doesn't have to be country. It can be anything. Go outside, go to a concert, go to a live sporting event, come to Fremont Speedway, watch some sprint car racing. Yeah, just get outside. Everybody's just so wrapped up on their phones. It sucks. Go outside, put that thing down. That's my advice. That's what I'd like to do. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, that'll end us in this one. As always, thanks everyone for listening and tuning in. Big thanks to Rich Farmer for letting us record this here in the Hall of Fame. So we did the Hall of Fame segment before. Get that posted. You guys will see that first. So at least they'll have some context on what we're talking about when they hear this and refer back to it.
Yeah.
But High Limit Show rescheduled, or, you know, all that. So check that out. Make sure you get your tickets. There's Dice Roll promo. I cut one there.
There you go. Buy your tickets early.
And then you come here before the race and walk around, and you're going to want to come as soon as gates open because there's a lot in here.
And I'm sure it gets probably filled up pretty quick because
it is usually busy.
There's probably a lot of people wanting to walk around. And yeah, I would absolutely recommend that. Come out, get here early, walk around the museum, take pictures, check stuff out. Almost said a bad word. Yeah, you can't win if you don't play. So buy your tickets early with High Limit Racing.
There you go. All right, guys. Appreciate it. We're out.